going to share my screen. Can you see my screen, Ryan?
Yep. I
Echelon.
got it.
Perfect. All right. Excited to be here. Thanks for those of you that could jump on. Again, if you have to get off early, this will be recorded, and let's jump into it. And oh, also we have one next Wednesday at 7 p.m. So, Ryan, I'm super excited to have a deal with you and then our good friends Ferris and Ben with Disrupt Equity. So this property is really cool. I own just over 2,000 doors, or I've partnered on just over 2,000 doors. Lyndon and I manage just over 1,000 doors, and this will be, I think, not even close, by far one of the best deals we've ever done. Really excited. To start off, I want to let all of our investors know we've pumped the brakes on acquisitions. When rates went up, it became really hard to make things pencil. And we've noticed, as most of the market has, there's been a lot of sellers really trying to get this high price still, with the market being slow, with rates really high. And we've been waiting patiently for something like this to come along. We've bid on a lot of property. We've been outbid by, larger institutions paying more than what we want to pay. So our friends and partners at Disrupt Equity were able to source this deal about 18 million under where someone had it under contract for 2 years ago before rates went up. So we've been waiting for something that's distressed, someone that needed a sale, needed a quick sale, and this popped up and we jumped all over it. So we love Atlanta. Our friends at Disrupt have been very good operators, had a huge amount of success in Atlanta. And without further ado, let's jump into Echelon Park. But Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell people why you're excited about this deal?
Yeah, so I'm Ryan Bacher. I've, been an entrepreneur for about 25 years. I've had the opportunity to, participate in some very large acquisitions. One largest acquisition was in '08, '09 when the market was distressed. We were able to pick up a pretty nice portfolio of commercial properties from a failed bank that the FDIC took over in partnership with the FDIC. It was a 7-year deal, $1.4 billion in paper, about $701 million in actual money lent. We managed through that with the FDIC, took our split, and ended up recovering 78% of that portfolio. I love multifamily. I have a lot of experience with multifamily. I've had a lot of partnerships that have dealt with multifamily. And when this opportunity popped up, we pretty much instantly jumped on a plane and flew out to Atlanta. I did not know this area very well, and I was pleasantly, surprised. And actually, this part of Atlanta is a thriving area. This property is in a very good spot. There's a lot of reasons why this property is, in my mind, a very good investment for anyone, that is lucky enough to get into a multifamily type of, investment like this. And man, I was thrilled. And everything on this transaction looks, all the green flags that we would love to see. So
Yeah.
super impressed with how it was found and how it was structured. So.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to, we actually hired you as a coach first and then brought you on as a partner because of your experience. And that's huge. And it's been a really fun time just getting to know you and also working with you how to grow and go from a couple thousand doors to, 4, 5, 6,000, kind of like Disrupt. And it's been really exciting doing a deal with Disrupt because I told you back when we started working together, I said, hey, if there's one company, one firm that I want to really model my own growth and MFI's growth after, its Disrupt Equity. They have the systems in place. They have 200 employees now. They hire cream of the crop talent to manage these assets, and that's why they've been able to grow so fast and so big. Over 6,000 doors managed now. They own their own management company, so they self-manage. They're vertically integrated. They've got Brandon Turner that raises money for them. And partners on deals and helps them asset manage. And so they've got some amazing partnerships. And we've just never been able to work together on a deal. We've tried so hard. Ben and Ferris and I and Lyndon are buddies. and we've tried so hard over the last 5 years, and this first one together is going to be really fun.
Well,
One,
and the one thing I like about it is this is kind of the Field of Dreams property. It's like if you find it, they will come, and we know
yeah,
that. And I think if anybody is looking at multifamily or spent any time looking at deal flow or what's out there, you will see very quickly all the parameters around this investment, meet the kind of thresholds we were hoping to find. And so, yeah, I love it. So.
absolutely. And in the last 2 years, bad operators have gotten exposed, and so I wanted to start off with a little bit of just about that. When rates went up, people got caught, and it's been pretty ugly. And there's a lot of sellers holding out for high prices, hoping the market improves. They can't refi, they can't put new debt on it. They have to sell, but they're selling at a discount. And so, we've had some struggles ourselves, and we've had to work through those, and we're working on positive exits. But there's a lot of sellers that couldn't. And so, number one, that's what we've been looking for, someone that had to sell, that was, they've been waiting for the market to improve, but now their loan is up. And so that was this exact scenario. He had it under contract, and this is the funnest part about this whole acquisition. Unfortunately for the seller, he had it under contract for 55 million 2 years ago, right as rates were going up. And the buyer retraded him, which means they said, "Hey, we actually need a discount. Rates have gone up. Let's do 53 million." And he said, "Nope, I'm going to hold out. Market's going to improve. It's not going to get that bad." And we just bought this at 38.5 million. And so that's a huge discount. But that's what we've been waiting for. That's why you guys haven't heard from us as much the last couple of years, is because we saw rates go up. We saw people, having issues with their properties. Inflation totally blew the expenses out of the water on most of the deals we're looking at. So we've been very, very patient and careful. I'm very anti-risk, and I just don't like taking risks. So again,
But when you see values drop and rates drop, that's kind of the ideal situation, and that's what
yeah,
what we hit this perfect opportunistic time frame to stumble on this. So
absolutely. We got an incredible rate on this 5.41. So let's talk about, as far as, I'm going to share my screen again. Can you guys see that?
yeah, there we go.
Perfect. So, general disclaimer, this is a 506C offer, and you have to be an accredited investor. If you don't know what that is, ask us after, but pretty simple. There's no guarantees here. This is an investment, and we have a certain amount of assumptions that we go over and that we have in our underwriting. You guys will be able to see in a second here. We've got all our underwriting. I can go over a couple of the assumptions there. Um, what I want to do next is talk about the team. And so we have Ryan, myself, Lyndon, Multifamily Investment Club team, over 2,000 doors, 1,000 that we manage personally at day-to-day basis. We've got Ferris, who really is the brainchild behind all the systems and why Disrupt has been able to do so well and have so many positive exits, no capital calls, even through really tough times. Over 800 million assets under management. Ben Settles, his partner, since they started this, same thing, really good with systems. Matt is a partner on this deal with them and is helping with the asset management, over 15 years experience. But again, I can't stress this enough. Operators have been exposed these last few years, bad operators, and we've had partnerships that have not done as well. We know people that have not done as well. And moving forward, Linda and I have made a commitment. We will only partner with the very best operators to reduce risk and have positive exits. And so it's been interesting time watching Disrupt really thrive and just push through and find deals like this and be able to take advantage of a market, rather than having to respond and react to things that aren't going as well. So my favorite quote from Warren Buffett is, when everyone's greedy, be nervous, and when everyone is nervous, be greedy. That's the time to be greedy. And that's a good example of, they put themselves in a really good position. Um, their holdings over 800 million. You can see this. They're all Sunbelt. Compared to us, we have some in Salt Lake, most of our portfolios in Texas, and then we have about 500 doors in Cleveland. Um, So let's talk about Echelon Park. Ryan, you mentioned weren't really familiar with where this was. So it's a submarket of Atlanta. Atlanta is one of the top MSAs or metropolitan areas for growth. You know, Delta has a hub there. They have multiple Fortune 500 companies. And we're over here in McDonough, which is just a really nice submarket. And if you zoom in, you know, when you and I drove here, we weren't sure what we're going to see. What we look for is job growth, population growth, and you know, new construction. We love being the affordable option in a new construction area. We want amenities close by to our properties. This is all really, really important stuff. And so, what was fun is you have Echelon Park right here. You have an elementary school across the street. You have a daycare literally right here. You have shopping. Um,
And that's what I was surprised the most about. I think it really felt one of those small communities
huh?
that had that great feel. The streets were nice, the area was nice, the
Yep.
surrounding homes and the infrastructure in place there was what stood out to me. I loved seeing the school across the street, and more importantly, I loved hearing about, from the residents, the types of people they were, what kind of
Yep.
jobs they had, when you when you pull into a facility like this and you do not see cars on blocks
I
and
was
you do
about to
not
say that.
see, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it just had a really, really warm feel about it. And it definitely would have been someplace I think I would have chosen, in my 20s, if I was looking for whether it was a short term or longer term place to stay. And I think that's the type of tenant they have there. These very, uh, you know, this great middle class working
Yep.
people who are thriving in that area. And I love that it was so close to the airport. Like,
Yeah.
so
5 minutes.
that was a real standout for me.
Yeah. So I mean, airport's growing. You have the Porsche headquarters just over here. You have Chick-fil-A. You know, we got to eat at some fun restaurants, two-story Chick-fil-A. But you know, lots of really good metrics. And so again, what got people into trouble these last few years? Well, if you're in an area with poor demographics, let's say their average income is 30,000, and you're trying to raise rents and it's not going to work. If you have no amenities, it is not going to work. So people want to live in a nice place, just like you're talking about. And also you have to, you know, if you're going to do a value add strategy, you have to have the ability to increase the rents when you remodel the place. And we've looked at you know, Linda and I have bid on a number of deals where they were just priced way too high. We would have had to spend way too much money, and there just wasn't the average income. The demographics just weren't right. So we've got them here. We'll share that with you guys if you would like. But again, average income is really important. 56,000 plus
Mhm.
in this area. If you're down in the 30s, 40s, that's
That's
not
tough.
good. What's that?
That's tough.
Yeah, it's tough because again, you have to have people that can pay rent. You know, they have to be able to afford you know, nicer units and that just it's tough, doesn't work. So again, back to the area, really good location, lots of jobs. This 75 corridor is where everyone commutes into work to Atlanta. So you're just 25-minute drive from downtown, from the airport, from all the jobs. And there's a ton more of, you know, manufacturing facilities, different companies putting, you know, setting up shop along this corridor. So that's where you want to be. And
I
so
kind
again,
I kind of like the fact that too, like some bedroom communities don't have a lot of like the stores there were awesome.
uh-huh,
The amenities around it were really great. It wasn't like this kind of bedroom community everybody commutes to and then they have to drive 25 minutes somewhere else to get
right.
their food or get,
Yeah.
so it had that, and it is, a 90s project. So a lot of that stuff was already built around it. It didn't feel like you had to go anywhere to get the things the necessities of life, that some of
Yep.
these communities do. So I love that.
Exactly. And that's what I was worried about, you know, and that's why we have, before we ever invest in anything, we drive, we look at the amenities. You got Sam's Club, Home Depot, everything around that within 5 minutes. You're 5 minutes away. And then you have a grocery store that's 2 minutes away and
Yeah.
Walgreens 2 minutes away. And of course we always got to have Starbucks and they've got Starbucks within 2 minutes. Those are all really good signs. So let's go back to the offering memorandum. Beautiful, beautiful property. So we know the location's good. We know the demographics are good. The underwriting is fantastic. We're looking at really good cash on cash returns. But let's talk about why. It's a beautiful property built in 97. Needs to be pressure washed, needs a few small repairs. We saw some gutters that were kind of struggling.
We looked hard, and I was, the stuff we were finding was like the stuff you dream of having to repair. It was very, very nominal, very minimal things, and we were looking through. We had to look through a fine tooth comb because it was very hard to see anything that was wrong with this property.
Yeah, and we've done really heavy lifts. I mean, Lyndon and I did a hotel, we did a multifamily property in Albuquerque. We've done complete guts in our 500 doors in Cleveland. That's doable. But what's nice is when you don't, it's way less expensive to not have to move a ton of people out and just fix a few things here and there. And you also attract a better renter demographic when it's already kind of nice. So they've done some tasteful upgrades already. We're going to do a few more. But this was owned by an institutional type owner, the last two owners. And so they've taken care of the property. And when you run into issues and kind of unforeseen repairs is when you have this mom and pop shop that owns the property that they're kind of a slumlord. We do well in those properties well, but we're kind of shying away from those because you end up having a lot of unforeseen repairs that you have to do, or it's just super expensive right off the bat. You don't have cash flow for the first year because you're repairing so much. So this is much more of a turnkey property. We're getting it or we got it at an amazing price. Like I said, about 18 million under what he had it on.
Yeah, and when you see that, you expect it to be sort of this duct tape and chicken wire type property, but it was well maintained. The prior owner did a very good job updating what they looked for probably when they acquired it, and it just didn't have much. Like even just pulling up and into the property, the trees were mature. It felt very charming actually, and that's what caught my eye initially. The day we were there we didn't really get to see the property the way we wanted to. It had what, 4 inches of snow, which
Yep,
was,
yep.
I mean, that was unique. But in any case, it just had that great feel about it, and we
Yeah.
were looking very hard for stuff.
Well,
That,
yeah, exactly. And we have a 310 door property in El Paso. And the thing that we love the most is there's so many trees. And so we every time I'm there, I'll ask tenants like, "Hey, why do you like living here? And how long have you been here?" They'll say 3, 4, 5 years. And they say it's a beautiful property, mature trees, kids, if I have kids or pets, there's a pet park here. Um, Renters and tenants really appreciate that. They like having a nice place to live. They don't want to have to pay luxury prices. And so again, that's something that we've done really, really well with is being the nice but affordable option. And what we didn't share when I was showing the map, I need to show that. You guys can see the map, right?
yeah.
Okay, so they're building two new luxury apartment complexes, one here and one there. And this one's done. This one's almost done. And so, Cleveland, that's helped us. In El Paso, that's helped us. In Dallas, that's helped us. These brand new properties where people are attracted to, they want to live somewhere nice, but they're charging 2,500 a month in rent, where we're charging 13 to 1,700 for something almost just as nice. And when we get done with these upgrades, it will be basically just as nice.
Well,
Uh,
we're gonna get that lift. They're obviously much heavier financially into those properties, and that benefits this facility for sure
yeah,
immensely.
exactly. We love being the affordable option and having that overflow from the luxury properties nearby. Um, so we talked about the reduction from the prior contract. I mean, feel bad for the seller. He should have taken 53 million. That's gotta hurt, but that's what we've been waiting for. That's what we've been patiently looking for is something that, he needed to sell. And the reason he needed to sell is his loan was due. Rates, he didn't want to refinance and put more money into this property. He wanted to get his money out and cash out. He still made some good money on it. He's put 3.5 million in it since 2017, 3.2 since 2017. And he was just done. He didn't want to go get a new loan. He couldn't refi. He would have had to put money in, and he just said, okay, let's sell. And fortunately for us, that was a pretty darn big discount. So pretty happy about that. Super low risk business plan. It doesn't need a heavy lift. 75 of the units are kind of in classic condition, which we love to see. The Dallas property we bought, the El Paso property we bought was completely original. And it's really easy if the curb appeal is already sexy, beautiful, like this one is, or like El Paso property that we bought was, you do a few upgrades on the interior, and it's really easy to attract better tenants at the higher rate. And so that's why we really
The other thing was I was surprised at the size. The size was
yes.
definitely bigger than the newer properties that are coming up out of the ground now. I think a lot of people would like that. I don't know. I would say, and you can, check me on this, but I would say these individual apartments were probably 30% bigger than what the market is currently building. And I
Yep.
think people like that. They feel that they're willing to sacrifice a little bit on, something that was just built a year ago versus something was built, like in 97, as long as these updates and I really, I could feel that. I was like, wow, this
Yeah.
is a bigger feel of an apartment. And I love that.
Yeah, and so we do already own this asset. We closed on it in November. We paused the raise for the holidays, and um, we talked to the property manager while we were there. They were fantastic. They're walking us through some of these units, and they said, you know what? It's interesting is we're actually getting the rent bumps without doing upgrades sometimes because people just want to move in. They don't want to wait, and they like the unit size. They like average 1,200 square foot units, and some of them are bigger than that. So unit size for me has always been really important. We've turned down a lot of deals that had very small unit size because again, maybe, rent wise, you're not going to charge a big difference between 600 and 700 square feet, but everyone's going to rent the 700 square foot over the 600 square foot unit. And so that's what we love. And I'm glad you brought that up because that was, a really big thing that we liked. And property management on site did confirm it that it makes it way easier to rent those units.
Absolutely.
Um, love the loan on this deal. 5 years, 2 years of interest only, 5.41%.
That's crazy. Then that's
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really, really good debt. And if we go back to what got people into trouble these last few years, it's having, a lot of these lenders were pushing 2-year loans. They knew rates were going to go up. And Linda and I were like, man, that's kind of scary. I don't want a 2-year loan. I don't want a 3-year loan. So everything we've always had is three with extensions, um, or more. We've got a couple of properties that have 10-year loans with 3 to 7 years interest only. So love that. As far as the metro goes, one of the biggest economies in the country, multiple Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1000 companies. As you uh, fly into the airport, you have the airport, then you have Porsche, then you have Chick-fil-A, then you so many others really close to our property, which is not, again, we look for jobs, we look for economic growth. And Atlanta, I don't know if you and I were talking about this, Ryan, but I was talking with someone else. They have a goal to be a city like London, like a destination, massive city with constant growth. And so downtown's already awesome. They have so many cool things going on. They have all the acting going on. Like Marvel has a whole studio set up in Atlanta, as do a bunch of other movie makers. So Atlanta's, the city council and Chamber of Commerce, their goal is to grow much bigger than they already are, and they want to be on the map like a New York, like a London, like a Paris. And so they're working really hard at, just like Salt Lake does. You're very familiar with it, Ryan. Tax cuts for large companies to bring in jobs, lower taxes for residents. They're more landlord friendly than others. All of those things that really help produce growth. So anything else you want to add to Atlanta?
Yeah, and I think just their mission now is just attract all types of, not only investments into the community, but the businesses, like you said, that are coming. I was really impressed with the healthcare system there, the hospital that was close. Apparently, a lot of people in this park live there and work in that, sizable hospital network that they have that's very close to the property. So there was a lot of medical professionals in there to just name a few of the reasons why I think the location and the economics in this particular area are just so favorable for this investment.
Yeah, we love hospitals. When the economy's down, people still get sick. And actually, people go back to work or go back to school to get in the medical field. It's just they've done studies after studies, and if you're close to hospitals, healthcare, that gets busier when the economy's down, and it stays busy when the economy's good. So we love being close to hospitals. We're close to a hospital in El Paso on two of those properties, Cleveland. We were in Albuquerque as well. So really love the healthcare field and what that means for resident quality or and demographics.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, I would probably live in this market. I mean, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
necessarily be in an apartment at this stage of my life, but that area, you could see all the nice homes. There was just a great mix there, and that community had something that would attract me if I was moving to that part of the country.
Yeah, for sure. There's, apartments that we own or have owned that I would not live at. But, if I needed to move it into an apartment, Lyndon just moved up to St. George. He has to rent a place for a while till he finds a house. This is the type of apartment I'd definitely be able to live in with my family. Um, So we've gone over most of this. What I want to do is talk about the numbers now. And we've been really patient. We've been bidding on deals. We've made offers at a bunch of properties in Dallas, El Paso, Florida. And what we've noticed is most people are buying and willing to take a 4 to 5 to maybe 6% cash on cash return. That's average over the lifetime of their investment because they're trying to get, make purchases. And we've been slow to do that. We feel like our investors probably deserve and what makes them feel better is higher cash on cash. That means your yearly distributions, kind of like our El Paso property. It just prints money. It's been hitting 6% plus. I think we hit 10% in 2023 for our investors. So this one's averaging 7 to 9. I think first year will be slightly under that, and then by year two, three, four, we'll be up to that 9% cash on cash. That's money back to you on every month in the 9% range. So we're really excited about that. And then IRR, a couple of the deals we sold last year, Ryan, Linda and I were really, really excited. We hit 20% on both of them. That's per year. How much are you returning on your money, not including tax write-offs. And so we were just stoked out of our minds to be able to say, hey, investors, here's your money back. And by the way, you hit 20% per year. Try to do that in the stock market or any other market consistently. It's just not going to happen. So
Mhm.
love that for our investors on this deal.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Back to investment highlights, low cost basis, really good cash on cash, really good corridor and location, low risk. We already own it. It's already closed with really good debt in place, long-term debt, low LTV, that's loan to value. So we put over 40% down. Again, trying to be conservative on these deals. If something does happen with the market, we'll be just fine. We talk a lot about stress testing and being recession proof on these deals. If we went back 3, 4 years ago and we did what the banks were telling us we could do, if we had taken, 90% loans, 85% loans, we'd be in big trouble on those deals that we own. But we put on average 40% down, and we're going to continue doing that because I think that's just the prudent, smart thing to do.
Yep.
240 units built in 97, 2 to 3 stories. You know, average rent is 1,400, average size is almost 1,200 square feet. Just love the numbers on this property.
I
But
like the, decades of great occupancy. That
Yeah, it's 95% occupied. It's not like we're coming in and we got to fix a bunch of operation, fix it operationally. It's already doing really well. Looks really good. As you can tell, like this is one of the model units. You have some really old cabinets, white appliances, Formica countertops, carpet. It'll be changed out for LVP. So they've done a few upgrades like light fixtures in some of the units, but again, there's not a whole ton to do. Every unit has a washer dryer in it. I think where was that picture? I had one somewhere. You can kind of see it. It's in the kitchen area. It's in like a pantry area. That's another thing that really attracts tenants that we don't have on a lot of our other properties. They're older properties that don't have that. So just a bunch of little things that I'm excited about that make these units easier to rent.
I mean, we got to talk about just the little car wash.
Oh
That,
yeah, the car wash. Oh
I
my
mean,
God. Thank you for
come
reminding
on.
me. Take it away.
I mean, just was a surprising little touch added to the facility. Is you had this just kind of this funny little pull-in car wash that just like you would see in a small town where you pull in and put coins in. They had actually built one of those into the facility, and as I remember understanding it, it gets used a lot. I mean, just
Yeah.
something simple like that adds that kind of charm that I was surprised to see because I'd never seen anything like that. So that was actually a highlight for me.
No, it's really cool. And yeah, the property manager says it gets used all the time. She was like, yeah, these people pull in. It's a little bit extra income source because it's coin op. So it adds a little income for the property. Trying to find pictures. I was going to see if I could pull it up. But I
Just
think
it just was
I
it
think
was
Eric is the one that took all those pictures.
I
But
should say too, these 90s multifamily units would, they typically had a tennis court. That was kind of then, and this is now. And I loved how they repurposed the tennis court area into, something that is, something that people could gather to and use. They had a double barbecue pit there. I see it, and maybe there's an image of it in there, but it was nice with big pergola. They had some, cornhole games. They had this kind of little soccer like pool game. I just think that utilization of, those spaces that were used once but not now, it was a nice touch as well.
yep, I totally forgot about the car wash. I don't have pictures. Eric's got them all. I'll find them. But yeah, really just a bunch of tasteful upgrades that just add to you've got the nice barbecue pit here, but you've got a game room. We're changing that into an exercise room, or expanding the exercise room. Bunch of
The
little
Amazon lockers, those kind
Amazon
of
lockers.
modern additions that make that property just, feel like it's in a modern era. So
Yep. So the local household income was 54. If you go out 3 miles, it's 84,000 a year. Just more demographics that really explain why we're so excited about this deal. Let's keep moving, and I'll let you guys look at this. This has already been sent out, but if you couldn't get the link to work, let us know. Again, you've got the hospital, you have Delta World Headquarters, you have the airport, just a bunch of Porsche, university. So gonna cruise through this so we can get to the numbers. Okay. So we love the rent comps. There is a delta between what's being charged and what could be charged. We're about $200 a month under. This is showing 287. That's just depends on the unit size and what's been done. Some of them have been upgraded a little bit. Some of them need a full upgrade. But what we always look for, Ryan, is at least a 20% delta. And it definitely hits that, and it's more in the completely original units. So we'll be hitting a 30% to 35% increase once those are remodeled and upgraded.
and that is definitely where the exit strategy of this property is whenever that is. But that's where, the upgrades and the time frame that it takes to do those upgrades with a 95% occupancy level. It's not like we can just make this happen overnight, but that delta is super important in terms of that exit ROI, IRR over time. So I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of these institutional buyers, they don't want to have to spend 2, 3 years increasing rents. They want something that's kind of done. Maybe there's a little bit of meat on the bone left for them. So it's always been our business plan to, do like 80% of the remodeling, 85, maybe 90, and then have an institutional buyer come in. We did that in Florida when we hit 20% returns for our investors. We had renovated, I think, everything but about 10% of the units. And a buyer came in, loved it. We had proven the business plan, proven that you can get the rent increases. So we'll do the same thing here. You've got rent comparables and then sales comparables. I'm not going to go through all those because of time, but it's there. And if you guys will have questions, want to go through them with me, I can jump on a call on an individual basis. Ryan can as well. So again, to the numbers, 8% preferred return, we will hit higher than that on a cash basis. So minimum 8% per year is what you'll be getting on years above that, or years that we have more than that. Of course, you'll get closer to 9%. Um, IRR, we feel we're going to hit 22 plus, depending on what the market's doing. That's conservative. If the market really improves, then we'll hit more than that, and that's going to be really fun for us. We love when our investors can hit 20% plus. That's just amazing for me. Love doing that. I think we've been over pretty much all of this. The other thing I wanted to talk about is taxes. So based on 100,000 invested, you should get year one. So for 2024, because that's when we bought this property, K1's at 40% loss. So that's really nice. A lot of our investors have multiple other passive investments, and that 40,000 is straight to your bottom line, saving you taxes day one. The caveat is there, we do have to receive your money in the month of February. We're finishing up the raise this month. It'll be done and fully filled. So we don't include the tax advantages in those numbers that we're showing you. So when we're showing you, we're going to hit you at 8% preferred return and 22 to 24% IRR, 21 to 24% IRR. That's not including the tax write-offs. So because I'm not a CPA, I don't want to give out tax advice, but what I can tell you on my own taxes is that it's been really, really nice, and I've averaged 40% per 100,000 I've invested in these deals. And that's through cost segregation. If you don't know what cost segregation is, it's just accelerated depreciation. I'm again happy to jump on a call to talk over that. And so a little bit lower cash flow year one as we remodel a lot of the units. Then as you can see, it increases. Those are conservative numbers. Let's keep going. Sensitivity analysis. So we're talking about vacancy and what could we potentially sell for and what's our IRR. We've got some conservative numbers here. We try not to give ever best case scenarios. I don't like it when people are pitching deals and they're giving only the best case scenario because rarely does that actually happen. So we're trying to be right in the middle, conservative. If this happens, we can still hit some really nice AARs. And if vacancy is a lot less, we can hit much higher AARs or IRRs, and they'll be really fun.
Yep.
So, a couple of the things that we're putting money into is, a lot of trees need to be trimmed, parking lot needs to be resealed, fencing some of the backyards to expand those backyards on the main levels. Pool furniture, definitely is just a little weather worn. Putting up some cabanas, shades, and then on the interiors, we've got about 40 units that will fully reno at 14,000 a unit, a bunch of partials at 7,500. So we're going to spend about $2 million, which
Mhm.
isn't a ton. It goes fast. We've spent on average $1 million, Ryan, on all of our other properties, and man, it goes fast. And so, we wanted to have a little bit more for the budget for this one, and so close to 2 million in upgrades. Um, Talked about accelerated depreciation, transparent fee structure. So we're doing this to make money. This is a 70-30 split. So it means after the investor's 8% preferred return, every $100 that's made for the deal above and beyond that is split 70% for the investors, 30% for us, the managers, the general partners. And so that's how we make money on these deals. We also will be charging an asset management fee, half of which actually goes back to a charity that we run. for tenants. And so we put money into that charity to help people that need rental assistance. These are people down and out, maybe have sickness, illness, out of a job. Um, and we would rather not have to evict those people. You know, we do have a heart. We don't want to be a slumlord or a shark of a landlord. We want to help people. So on all of our properties, we help them get assistance so they don't have to be evicted, so they don't have to miss rent and have that stress in their lives. Again, we want to help people. There's no reason not to do that. And so that's really something really fun that we've done with Disrupt Equity on this deal. We do get an acquisition fee, and then when we sell, we do get a capital transaction fee to make that get that done. So total raise on this is 19 million. Got about 5 million left for people. I know that's going to go quick this month, but plenty of room for people to get in, at least get a nice chunk in this one. Any questions or thoughts on the numbers, Ryan?
No, I don't think so. I think it's pretty straightforward. The great part is more often than not, when someone's coming into sort of an investment like this, the property has not been purchased, the debt is not in place. Let's see if we can do this, but this is different. It's ready to go, and we've been there, we've walked it, we've seen it. I've invested in it. Even this is a really really rare deal because of the fact that we already own it.
Yeah,
So
we already manage it. So Emerge Living is owned by Disrupt. They already started managing it in November. Been a great takeover. Everything's going smooth. You know, we walked in unannounced like we always do. They greeted us with a smile. They were so nice. And I'm like, perfect. Because that's my number one fear is when you buy a property or you have managers, the on-site team can make or break that property. And so I think they're awesome. Loved the three ladies that we met there, that they're doing a great job. Um, so we've, Disrupt and that charity already over 100,000 in rental relief. So that, again, we don't have to do this, but half of the money that we're supposed to be making on an asset management fee is going back to that charity to help people that are down and out that need that help. So these are the deals that Disrupt has sold. So you can see their track record. They've done very well. Some ridiculous returns in some cases. And, kind of like our Florida or Albuquerque deal, we had some huge appreciation. Those were heavy lifts. And as they moved on and the market got hotter, those returns go down back to kind of normal. But some of these first deals Disrupt did were really heavy, and they were rewarded with some pretty amazing returns. Let's see here. So as far as the process goes, you guys are reviewing the offering right now. You can review it. We'll send it out via email. You can e-sign everything through the portal and then wire over your money. You do have to get verified as an accredited investor. We can help you do that. We've already closed on it in November, so there's no waiting for it to close. Like you said, it's ready to go. So again, 506C offering, accredited investors only. That means you make at least 200,000 a year, or you have $1 million net worth. Minimum investments 75,000. You can invest through a 401k. Those work. We will not be doing 1031s anymore on this deal because it's already closed. And that's it.
love it.
Got a bunch of facts here. You can ask Ryan or myself about any questions that you may have. Texting or calling me is way better than email. I respond very quickly to that, and we can set something up. But no, I'm super excited about this deal. My best performing asset right now, Ryan, is that 310 doors in El Paso. And this one's so similar to that one, but with better debt, more upside, and it's newer. So every Thursday I have a call on that El Paso deal, and it's so fun because it's such a good asset. When you have something that cash flows as much as it does, even when pipes burst, even when parking lots need to be resurfaced, even we had to build a retaining wall, that El Paso one. The money takes care of everything, and so when you buy high cash flowing assets, it's just a lot easier to manage and way better for the investors. So I'm excited.
Yeah, this is definitely a win-win-win.
So we had a couple people jump off. Paul Shao, how's it going, buddy? AD, not sure who that is. If you have questions, go ahead and type it in the chat that you have a question and we can unmute you. Otherwise, we can be done. Lyndon, you can ask a question too, buddy. I have a few. Paul Shao has a few. Ask to unmute.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going, buddy?
Good timing on this project.
Cool.
Um, a bunch of questions, and I apologize for missing the first half of the
No worries.
webinar. I was on another call. So, and I apologize if it's repeating what you've already asked. So, what kind of partnership and control do you have with Disrupt? Does MFI have with Disrupt?
Yeah, really good question. So, uh, as you know, we've had some partnerships, not really do what they're supposed to in the past. We will only probably exclusively be working with Disrupt in this capacity where we are minority partners. They've had over, a couple hundred million in positive exits at this point. Really good track record. And so we have voting rights as as general partners with them. So we are partners with them. And so they would need majority votes to sell. There is a private equity firm that's got a stake in this deal as well. So they also have voting rights. And at the end of the day, that's how almost all of our deals work, except most of those deals I've had majority control personally with Linden. So we've had 51% control, except for maybe two of those. And so, Lyndon and I have been very careful, and that's why we've waited, to be honest, for 2 years to find the right group and the right situation where we felt comfortable. Okay, we no longer have the only decision-making ability. We have voting rights, but again, with Disrupt and their track record, we feel comfortable with that.
And how did you vet Disrupt? I mean, what
But
was kind
I've
of your
known
vetting
them,
process?
yeah, I've known them for 5 years. So I've met them, or excuse me, 2018. So this will be going on 6, 7 years. So we met in 2018. We have seen each other, hung out a few times a year. I've visited them in their headquarters multiple times, known their partners and watched their deals. I've actually had investors who've invested with them as well. And so, the best thing I could say is we've spent a lot of time around them. We've spent a lot of time with people who have invested with them. I don't know if you know Brandon Turner and Bigger Pockets. He's raised a lot of money, millions upon millions with them. So being able to, Brian Murray is another one, being able to talk to people who have partnered with them and then seeing their operations, they've hired some of the best asset managers, the best CFO that they could find, and they've brought in talent and they've focused on operations. They're not amazing at raising money. They're and so that's why they have partners who do operations and money raising with them. Um, what they're amazing at is operationally building the best teams, and they manage. I don't know if you saw on the slides. We're
Yeah,
at
I went through.
7,000 doors right now.
Yeah. Now,
So
and I asked because, we've done a few deals, right, together, MFI Club and stuff. There's been some management issues, there's been some
yep,
partnership issues. So,
yep,
we've all learned a lot throughout this process.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
Paul, I would encourage you to really take a look at Disrupt, look at their, look at the track record. Even if you feel comfortable just reaching out, they of all the groups that we could syndicate with, they seem to have a very good grasp on these important parts. Management is one of them. Operations is one of them, as you know. This deal stands on its own with, just by itself. But as things can get scary if you have, someone not, paying attention.
yeah, yeah.
And,
And
and
Paul,
I really can't say enough good things about, the on staff, on property staff that were there. I mean, they were exceptional. So,
and Paul, I'm glad you brought this question up. We've had struggles with people who don't have the right systems, accountability, and the right approach. And so if you look at Cleveland and why we fired that property manager, and what we looked for when we hired the new one was an institutional approach. So Athene Management took over in Cleveland with, they had managed a couple billion in commercial and multifamily previously. What we've learned, these hard learning situations between San Antonio and Cleveland, we've had to fire two property managers in El Paso, is if you don't have the right systems and accountability in place and reporting, and you don't have clarity on what's going on, you have bad results. And so every time we fired a property manager, we've learned, okay, we need to find someone who has that institutional approach, who really understands systems, processes, reporting, hiring the best people, and then producing results. And so the reason we've been able to turn around Cleveland is we hired someone with that institutional background and everything that we're talking about. So Disrupt, I think, leads the country as far as and Ferris, he's happy to jump on a call with you as well, Paul. He has a tech background. He's freaking nerdy. So which I love, everything has a process, everything has a system, everything's tied in technology and reporting, and that's why he's been able to grow to 200 employees and 800 million under management is because of those systems.
Yeah, and I'll just add clarity, transparency, and accountability. Those are all really important things when we live across the country, right? We've got to be able to see data, and I couldn't agree more with Sam about the necessity of having the right team in place. So we feel excellent about their operational capacity.
All right, great. So moving on, you mentioned this earlier, I think, Ryan. There is such a high occupancy rate. How will you be upgrading the units? How long is it going to take to upgrade the units when you have such a high occupancy rate? That's question number one.
Yeah, so what we prefer, Paul, after doing this for the last 5, 6 years, um, is kind of a rolling upgrade schedule. And so in our underwriting, we have, maybe 10% per year, maybe up to 20, depending on if people want to move out or not. But we like that a lot more. We don't have to do a ton of upgrades to make money. We don't have to burn through 20, 30, 40% in order to cash flow. And so when I analyze a deal, the number one easiest way to add value is just having a delta between rents and where you're at now and where rents could be charged without doing upgrades. And so that was really comforting when we walked the property and the on-site team said, you know what? We're actually able to do these rental increases without doing many of the upgrades, or we move them in and we can come in a couple days while they're at work and we can put in the new dishwasher. We can put in a new stainless steel fridge, a new stainless steel stove, a couple light fixtures. And so we actually won't have to be moving a ton of people out. A lot of these upgrades we can easily do while people are still in the units. Second way that we look for, creating upside is okay, yeah, let's spend that 14 grand and move people out. If you remember the slides, that wasn't the majority of the units. And so just as leases come up, it's 240 units. So if we did 10 of those a year, 10% of those a year, that's 20, 24 to 30 units a year.
Is
That's
that the typical turnover for that building?
Yeah, it depends. You can force to have more turnover. It's really easy. So like in Dallas and El Paso this last couple years, we had people that wanted to stay without, and they would have stayed in the units without touching them. But we said, nope, we're actually just not going to renew your lease. And so you can have a typical, yeah, 10% turnover, but you can push that up to 20, 25% really easy. Just depends on your business plan.
Keep in mind too that this is a newer property. Most of the multifamily that's been trading over the years has been significantly older, right? Where these upgrades are necessary, not just like should
Yeah.
we do it, should we not do it? They were necessary. So but most of the upgrades we're doing are things that can be done very quickly too. So it's not like it's a whole
It's
rehab.
not a heavy lift like Cleveland.
No, it's not a heavy lift. And so that's, this is all, basically a 2000, property, 1997. So it's not that big. It's not as challenging as I think some of these other older properties that are more tradable or the more visible or trading out there more often would be. So
Right. Okay. And you're saying, it's 5% vacancy, 95% occupancy right now. What is the economic vacancy for this property?
in this like economic vacancy in the area.
No, of the property.
Property. So yeah, that's, bad debt delinquency is what you're talking about, right?
That's right.
Um, we're sitting about another 5 to 6%, depends on the month, Paul.
Okay.
It's not high. So that's the other thing. If you're in an area with lower income, or as we saw in Cleveland, if you have really poor management, that economic vacancy goes way up. Because what happened
Right.
in Cleveland is just wasn't collecting rent. He's putting bad tenants in that didn't pay, and they just were terrible at collecting rent. And so our economic vacancy has gone way down in Cleveland, way, way, way down with better management. And so, again, we're in a really good area with affluent, it's affluent, high-end blue collar, low-end white collar in this area. Collections is not an issue. And, that's a pretty healthy level. In Dallas and El Paso, we're at like 98%. We have trained those property managers and they are scary good. I don't know that we'll get that good here. We'd love to, but yeah, that's a good question.
And I mean, and how many of those units are under eviction, or what percentage are
I would
currently
have
under
to
eviction?
I'd have to look. Last time I talked to the manager, it's like one or two a month.
One or two a month. Okay.
Yeah, very low. And
And
that's
so, what is the municipality's policy on eviction? I mean, is it, you know, I think Atlanta is not super landlord friendly, I mean, so I'm just wondering, how easy it is right now in its current situation, political situation on eviction.
Yeah, so the property manager said it's not too hard. It's a few weeks to a month. Dallas right now, it's like 6 weeks. Cleveland, it's 2 months or more, which has really hurt us. I mean, all of November, December, we couldn't even get a judge or court to answer the phone. Um, so it's, from what I understand, not an issue. It's a few weeks to a month, maybe a little bit more to get a court date. Um, Dallas, we will not buy in Dallas itself, most likely, because it's so bad there. We're in Garland. City of Garland isn't bad. So there's just a bunch of little differences there that really good question, really good to know. But they're not having any issues with it at this point.
Okay. And then for the tenants, what percentage is under assisted assistance? Section 8, whatever, any type of rental assistance.
I'd have to get back to you on that number. I don't know. I don't believe it's very high. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, it's kind of a higher average rent area. Typically don't get that in these type of properties as much. Dallas and El Paso, those properties, we're sitting at like 5% ish, depending on the month. Cleveland, we're um, probably 10%, so a little bit higher than we'd like to be there. Uh, Albuquerque, we were like 40%. We don't love that. But at the same time, if you once you get it figured out, they pay every month. So definitely not a bad thing. It's just that those type of tenants don't always treat the property as nice.
Right.
This isn't a kind of a Section 8 type property. It's that your average rent is just a little bit too high for that.
Okay.
Uh, I remember them saying something about, uncontested evictions are a little over 30 days. Contested ones can take up to 1 to 3 months, but it doesn't feel like there's any adverse, sort of policies there you know, that aren't manageable. So,
Yep. And we found even, in Cleveland and these other areas, people, you get behind way less if you're on government assistance because then you'll lose it. Um, the evictions that we have had, and we've been making a lot of progress as we've gotten a better tenant base. A lot of them are just paying. Like we had someone bring in a $10,000 check. They were more than a few months behind. So I think as you train these tenants a little bit better and you talk to them differently, you treat them differently, you have way less issues with um, delinquency, with evictions. And like right now in El Paso, one of the properties, we have an average of $200 to $800 a month in bad debt, which is ridiculously low. It's just the way we treat the tenants. We treat them right and we expect them to pay. So Disrupt's very good at that as well, and or
And
Living, I should say, is very good at that as well.
and the management group is trained on the very meticulous steps that have to take place to you know legally do an eviction. So they're very aware of those procedures. They seemed well versed. I did not do a deep dive on that because I felt very strongly about the management there and what they do and how they follow those very meticulous procedures for that area of the country.
Right. And then last question-ish. What's the demographic for the tenants here in this, I don't know, in this area, in this building?
I'll tell you what I saw. There was, a lot of, varying ethnicities there. We talked to some of the people. I asked about what kind of work they were doing. A surprising number of people in this complex were working in healthcare, which makes sense because of the big hospital that was near there. You know, walking around, we saw pretty much everything. I mean, I remember seeing quite a few people walking their dogs, and it just had a really good mix to it.
Yeah, the thing you already mentioned this, Ryan. I liked you show up at 10 a.m. There's a lot of cars and people walking around your property. It's kind of scary. It's like, don't you people have jobs? Um, so we got here and most of the cars were gone. There was not very many people around, so we really like that. But Paul, I'm happy to send you this CoStar report if you want to take a look.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, I'll send that right over.
Sure. Um, and then I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question to ask on recording, so maybe we can have an offline.
Yeah, we can finish up if no one else has questions. I can press stop recording and then we can get to some inappropriate questions. Hey everyone,
Awesome.
if you missed it, go listen to the recording, ask me questions. My number's at the bottom of the OM, so feel free to text or call. Ryan can answer questions just as well. Investments are now open through our portal, and this is a good one. This is better than our best so far in El Paso, and we're really excited about it. So thanks for being on.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.